Memento.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so as we were saying before, uh Chris Nolan's new outing, Oppenheimer, should be out now. Um and at least one of us has watched it and the others are watching it today. And you will get a review from How Good Was It on this new movie, but we thought we'd give it a little bit of a warm up with Memento. So let's jump right in. And upon rewatching, man, I personally hadn't seen this movie since around the time it came out, which was, I believe it was 2000.
Yeah, came out in 2000.
Yes, and so what was funny is I watched this movie yesterday, but I told my wife this is one of my wife's favorite movies. As a matter of fact, she turned me on to this movie. I had never heard of it, and she was like, "We need to watch this movie. You'll love it." And she was absolutely right. But what was funny is, so when I told her the other day that we're doing an episode on Memento, her first response was, "I thought you only did like retro movies from the past." And I'm like, well, this movie
We're getting
came out
old, baby.
23 years ago.
Movie.
Like what classifies as retro to you? She was like, "Oh my God, we're old." I'm like, yes. Hello. Did you just come to this realization? It can be considered a classic movie at this point.
Yeah. I think Guy Pearce looks so young in this movie. It's like I'm so used to him seeing as an old man now.
Joey P, this was your first time.
I know. This is what I want to hear.
It was the first time, and first mistake was to try to watch it from work, and kind of look at it. Every time I look at the screen, the scene change. Sometimes I thought I was like watching black and white movies, and
we did warn you in the first half of this episode. This is a movie you got to watch. You can't do it while you're distracted by anything else around.
Yeah, it was a trip on its own, and it was so confusing when I was watching it at work. I keep hearing conversation, but every time I look at the screen, it changes setting. So, but I managed to finish the movie and still don't know what's the story was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, you can't. I mean, I remember watching it the first time, paying close attention and still being like, man, I don't know. And I think the more I watch it, the more I start picking up clues, and the more I understand the movie, the more I've seen it. The more I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. No, I think this time I think I finally 100% understood the movie, and probably like the fifth time I've seen it.
So this is like a movie experience on its own. Like I came home,
for sure. Yeah, very different movie experience.
Yeah, I watched again from the beginning, and then after I finish it, I rewatch it because there was a lot of question from at the ending. But then I came to a conclusion that the beginning was the ending.
Well, yeah, pretty much.
Good job, Joe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into the plot, which I could feel we're about to get into, because I think Joey P has a lot of unanswered questions we might have to.
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
This is my second time watching the film. From the first time being around the time it came out over 20 years ago.
Really? I thought you've never rewatched it.
No,
I thought maybe you rewatched it in the early 2000s. Wow.
No,
this is a movie that. Yeah, I definitely watched a few times early on just for the fact. I think I probably saw it twice in the theaters, because after I saw it the first time, I really enjoyed it. But it was such a trip. It was so much of a trip that I think it almost gave me a headache because of the way, it keeps going back and forth and back and forth. And it's just, it's not the way your mind is used to watching a movie. And but I was amazed by it.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
So the black and white, that seems to be the one that continues, like the conversation.
So the black and white.
It's like he telling stories. Right?
Yeah, black and white is supposed to be the facts. So it's supposed to be the objective. And then the color, it's supposed to be the subjective. So it's going to be more of like his kind of like his feelings about it. It's maybe not the truth, maybe the more like the way he feels or the way he thinks is what's going on.
Yes. In other words, it's what he's guessing, or it's what in his mind is what he has going on. And once you get to the ending and the what's really happened reveals itself, it kind of lands into place. That's like the big dropper. When we'll get into it when we get. I'm sorry, Joe, you were about to.
Oh no, my understanding was the only real time it's when he tells story about the guy, what's his name?
Sammy Jenkins.
Sammy Jenkins, yeah. So Sammy Jenkins, And then at the end, I thought Sammy Jenkins is himself.
That is. Well, it is in a way. So his mind is not working. But I think we're doing the ending. What's he trying to figure? He thinks he's trying to figure out who killed his wife.
Yes.
He's trying to, he has all these Polaroid pictures that he keeps in his pockets to help him remember. He's telling you as a narrator, and the whole time there's a voiceover narration where he's describing what's been happening in his life and that he has this condition. Everybody he sees, he tells them right away, hey, I have a memory issue. I don't remember new things. He keeps telling it over and over again that you come to find out his wife has died, and he thinks he's looking for the killer or killer.
But that was the only question, the most question asked when they first initially hear about him. And they always say, "What was your last memory of?" And then he will tell about he remember his wife.
Yeah.
And dying.
Well, to clarify, okay, as far as his condition, because he does go into detail several times, and you learn a little bit more about as the movie develops. It's putting together puzzle pieces where you get a little piece at a time, and it gives you that much more semblance of the story. But as far as his condition, when his wife was murdered, something happens to his head. He got a head injury.
Right. He thinks somebody hit him from behind.
Yes. And you see his head hit the floor and there's blood. And when he wakes up or recovers from that head injury, he finds that he cannot form new memories. He holds all his original memories intact, whatever happened before his wife's murder. But anything from then on, he can't retain. And he literally loses his memory. It could be within minutes. So we're experiencing what's happening in the movie through his eyes, and we're seeing, as Scott mentioned before, and the reason I'm saying this is to make sense of it for me, not for you guys. I'm still trying to build this movie in my head. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I watched this movie over 20 years ago, and I'm still discovering little snippets of information that kind of clarifies the plot as a whole. But that being said, yes, that's the gist of what happened to him. His mental condition. He cannot form new memories and retain them. He loses the memories really quick. And it'll be like the semblance you get from when this happens is it's almost like him waking up from a dream. It's almost like him waking up.
Yeah.
And there's the scene, and that's coming up. And it exemplifies this. It really hit it home for me is when he's in the bathroom with the bottle of alcohol. And he wakes up, or
he doesn't know why he
has wake up. I would use the term wake up, but that's not appropriate. You see him lose the memory of what happened before that, and and waking up, he's like, I don't feel drunk. Like he's like, he doesn't know what just happened, why he's sitting on a toilet with a bottle of alcohol in his hand, an empty bottle. And
there's another great scene where he's running. And he's running. He doesn't know if he's chasing the guy or being chased. And he's running, and he starts chasing the guy. And then he realizes the guy pulls a gun up and shoots at him. And he's like, he realized he was being chased. So he turns around and starts running the other direction. That's
one of the things Chris Nolan did brilliantly in this film is telling the story through his eyes. So you're kind of feeling what he's feeling. You're kind of experiencing what he's experiencing, and you're discovering things as he's discovering them. So.
And at the same time, he's being manipulated by the fact that he's not knowing exactly what the story happened. Like remember the scene when he was beating up the girl, and then she went and sat in the car for like a couple minutes, came back in, and completely changed the whole story.
She was trying to egg him on to do it, and she took all the pens because she knew what he does also is he has all these pictures, takes Polaroid pictures, and then he writes notes on it. And including all over his body, he writes notes. So he'll remember stuff, but it's so easy for it to go wrong. It happens a lot.
This is a heart-wrenching movie. By the time you get to the end and you make the realization, and again, you make it as you discover what's happening as he's discovering it, or well, I guess you could say that, but. It's heart-wrenching when you find out what's going on.
Everyone's manipulating him. Everybody is using him. You feel like he's been in the same orbit now for probably like over a year with the same people, and they all know him and they all know his condition. But every time he wakes up, I think some of them play like they don't know it, so he explains it. and everybody's manipulating him in some way. Even the guy he's renting a room at a hotel, and the guy purposely rents him out an extra room because he knows the guy's not going to remember. He even tells him, he's like, "You're not going to remember this anyways. Making extra money off you." Pretty much is what he's telling him.
The guy even tells him
everybody's using it.
Yeah. The guy at the hotel even tells him, "Dude, you got to remember to get a receipt every time."
Always get a receipt.
Always get a receipt. It's oh god, going.
So, you really don't know who's helping him and who's manipulating him, and it's most everyone's manipulating him in a certain way, and you feel bad for the guy, but in the end, maybe he isn't the best person either. So